All right, I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Bridgewater Budget and Finance Committee meeting. First, I will take an approval of minutes from the December 16th, 2025 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Here, awesome. Next, we'll move to C, public comment. Any comments from the public?
Just happy to answer questions if you have them.
Not now.
Okay. Great, we move to D, legislation referred. Start with capital.
You have a CPC one?
Yeah, I want to start.
Yeah.
CPC, okay to start with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, I'll two members of the CPC here that could introduce or give a brief summary of the Order O FY 26038 transfer order, CPC town-owned cemetery assessment.
Thank you, Carlton Hunt, Austin Street, Vice Chair of the CPC. I prepared that. One of the things we haven't really looked at in Bridgewater is the historic cemeteries, of which there are 14 in Macris designated as historic. 10 of those are owned by the town. One of them is the first cemetery, 1717 over at the First Church. And there's some interest there to improve that appearance of that area of town. The BIA's Forty Little Park, this former Metro station. Maybe some potential changes in that street configuration there. And so one of the things that I'm interested in, and I think the CPC is interested in, is getting the cemetery there up to speed. A lot of headstones are falling down, broken, that kind of thing. But the other 9 ranged from a cemetery with 6 burials in it to some with a couple hundred. And the reason we're asking for funds to do an assessment is we have no idea how to put a cost together for those cemeteries. So we don't know how many broken stones need to be fixed, how many just need to be cleaned. There is possibility of interments that we don't even know about. Maybe headstones have gotten covered up. So we want to do an assessment of all these stuff so we can put together a plan, long-term plan for cleaning, restoration, rehabilitation of all those cemeteries. I provided a lot of detail and the number, and I just found there's an 1885 book that lists all the epitaphs of all the cemeteries. Somebody compiled those back in 1885. And they say that the first cemetery has something like 587 burials in it. Some of them that were moved over to Mount Prospect Street. But the bottom line of this is we need to know what we have to do in order to get some actual proposals together. So that's why we're asking for assessment money. I did long online search and I talked to a couple of companies that do this, and they gave me estimates of anywhere from $15,000 to $50,000, $100,000 per cemetery. So I kind of took the average and said, okay, 10,000, 20,000 each, that's 200,000. Hopefully it would be far less. So questions?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. I watched it in the finance too. I think you did a thorough.
Well, in the finance committee, there was a question about why are we doing this? Why don't we just go clean them up?
Yeah.
And my snarky comment would be, so you're going to build a house without a plan? You got to have a plan so you know what you're going to do and how much it's going to cost. Thank you.
If you don't mind, I just have a question on.
I never mind.
If we know First Cemetery is, it seems like the one in most need from the documents in here.
Probably.
Why don't we start there and get a feel for what this project is going to look like, as opposed to going to the 10 from the
Because
start?
the long term, we're going to have to look at all of them. And so if we do it all in one place, we might get a benefit of cost savings. If you bring somebody in town and they spend 3 days a week here to look at all the and do the research, that kind of thing. So otherwise we start to nickel and dime ourselves, in my opinion.
I have a hard time swallowing $200,000. That's a big chunk of
Big
money.
number.
I'd love to see what we are getting out of it. I understand this is sort of the assessment to tell us where the work's going to go.
Yeah.
It just seems like a large amount of money to bite off at the very beginning, not knowing what then the work is going to take on after that. See?
Well, that's true. But we go after this cemetery, then that cemetery, And another one, we're gonna spend money regardless. So it'll be smaller chunks. My hope is that we would get a bid, would be way under that. But, so we're shooting high, and that's based on basically an average cost for 10 cemeteries.
Do you think the CPC would have, I guess this is an opinion question, have any appetite in starting with the first cemetery and then taking it from there? Because again, I personally have a hard time approving $200,000 in just this project alone. That's just my understanding from the documents that I've provided. Thank you for sharing, but it seems like an absorbent amount of money for an assessment.
You know, I've gotten some estimates for one cemetery, 100,000. So how am I supposed to balance it out?
Yeah.
You guys have an option. You can recommend to reduce the cost. You can deny it totally, or you can accept it in total. That's all the CPA allows you to do. So it's up to you. You want to change it down, then we'll have to change the scope.
Did you have money over from last year?
Money left over?
Yeah, from CPC.
We have lots of money in CPC. We could have gone through the admin account, which we don't have to come to the council for approval.
Oh, okay.
We can go separately. But because this is large, we ask for a large amount of money.
Okay.
And we do have CPA funds in the admin account. But that account is one that we control totally by ourselves.
Okay.
And we don't have 200,000 in there.
Yeah.
What's the cost to renovate, remediate, otherwise fix up a cemetery? I'm assuming it's obviously by size, number of headstones, conditions, but once we kind of start biting into this, what is the total cost of just doing a single cemetery even look like?
Depends on how many stones are in there and what the condition. That's why I need the assessment.
Well, I mean,
Build a
just
house without a plan.
historically, like there has to be something to go off of.
I've
educated
researched, West Bridgewater has done 2 or 3 cemeteries. I called them, I asked for their scope, I asked for their cost. Haven't gotten even a good answer.
guess. Okay.
But it could be 20,000, it could be 50,000.
To do
Or
the
just to do the
remediation work.
remediation. Or it could be less, depending on what we find out during the assessment.
Mhm.
We also estimated higher than Cal did great research on the costs in different towns. I believe we estimated for this higher because if the cost does come in more, we would have to come back to you folks for more money.
Mhm.
We're hoping it comes in way less than the 200,000, but we wanted to avoid having to come back again.
And we'd be happy to work with you however you guys, the council decides.
How does it work if we don't recommend at the council level and maybe we want to see, as Paul's suggesting, one at a time. Me personally, I think of priorities and I have my own opinions as to how certain money should be spent, and I'm personally not in favor of this only because I think that we have other priorities that we should be focusing on. But if it is the appetite of the council to do this type of work, which I do think it's very meaningful, I just don't know if this community is in the position to do that at this time.
Can I ask a question?
How would be,
What are your concerns?
my concerns?
Those other ones. CPA funds cannot be used for any of the town operational expenses.
That I'm totally in understanding. Due to the CPA's funding ability to fund certain recreational projects, I think we need to do a thorough investigation of how we can utilize CPA funding in order to fund certain recreational projects which are eligible. I understand that it's really tricky to do that, but we have not historically done that, and I think that there is an opportunity to do
Are
that.
you asking, this is sidebar,
Sure.
are you asking CPA fund a recreational assessment?
No.
So how are you gonna know the cost for something?
The cost for,
All these recreation things you'd like to do.
I would want to talk with our town manager and town departments to see what the recreational needs and projects are and which may be potentially eligible under CPA funds.
And I
But I
just,
think that we're now getting outside the scope.
Yeah,
no, this kind of goes with it. Our 5-year plan that was just approved last summer. One of the things we heard from people was to address the disrepair for lack of a better word, of the cemeteries, our previous 5-year plan, people also mention the cemeteries. So it's something that CPC isn't just pulling out of the hat and saying, hey, let's do the cemeteries. It's something when we put out a survey to the town for our 5-year plan for 10 years, well, I can't say 10 consecutive years, but 2 5-year plans, cemeteries were an issue. And if there were other things, it's not just, you mentioned recreation. My hat's with recreation, but for projects like that, we also have to look at CPC doesn't replace the town's budget. A lot of things that could possibly come to us for recreation, us meaning CPC, I'm gonna put on my CPC hat now. Things I see around town too that would come to us should come out of the town budget. It should town making some repair. It's things not coming to CPC for. We deal with budgets as they come up. We have a couple applications before us now. CPC does its due diligence for, for every application that comes to us. We do everything possible to deal with the applications.
I just want to quickly chime in on the last thing that Gina said there. I think the most important thing for the town side, just because it was addressed a couple of times, is, we have a capital improvement plan. I think there's opportunities for us to work collaboratively with the CPC for any rec projects that are eligible for CPC projects. I do think that's something we probably haven't done the best of previously, but obviously we'd have conversations with the CPC group regarding that. I just want to be very clear about that.
And that's my exact point.
So we have 4 areas that we cover.
Yeah.
Historic is one.
Yep.
Recreation is one.
Yep.
Open space is one.
Right.
Housing, which you've done very poor with,
Right.
is another one.
Exactly.
I mean, I know it's a lot of money, but I've placed a lot of flags on cemeteries for the veterans, and it's pretty messy. It really is, and it will make, I know the main one they want to do, like across the street from the mobile station, is like one of the main entrance into BSU. It'd be nice to get that one done. But some of the other ones, and this is a lot of money. If it was not from the CPC, I'd say no, but it's their money. A lot of the veterans things could be even dug up. We can't even find some of it, so I think it would be at least a C. It might come down a lot lower. It hasn't got up to bid. I don't know. Only because it's not taken away from our capital money.
What are your thoughts on potentially posing a recommendation of starting with the first cemetery and being able to demonstrate what that looks like? So
I would do that if you could get, Mr. Khan could get what's the difference between getting an assessment for one, or if the guy comes out and gives assessment for all the graves, you know what I mean? But I think that.
you mean all of us,
cemeteries, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd be in favor of prioritizing a single one and doing an assessment there and then seeing what we're getting ourselves into before we commit to assessing 10.
Yeah.
I like to do things, one at a time, get a sampling of what we're getting ourselves into before we commit to a multi-million-dollar project. Because once you commit to an assessment, you're not committing to the assessment, you're committing to the assessment and all the work that the assessment has uncovered. Because the argument is, well, we already paid for the assessment, so we might as well do the work. Otherwise, we're throwing good money after bad, right? So that's why I would be in better favor of, a single one to start.
But assessment,
all.
I see that like the Boy Scouts might be able to clean up some of the graveyards. I mean, it may not be also technical. So once we get the assessment and the guy says, yeah, a Boy Scout group could do this or something. So it might not be a lot after that.
I'm gonna address your comments. Anything we do with cemetery has to meet national cemetery restoration requirements.
Oh, okay. So Mr. Hunt, would it be difficult to find out with one cemetery how much it would be compared to all? They could give you 2 bids, or you have to bid out the whole thing?
That's a question that I think we have to work with the town manager.
Okay.
The scope, if we use the money, the scope will get reduced. I don't think you can transfer what we find out of one cemetery to another cemetery, because we won't know the count of stones that need to be restored. And we'll have to pay for that. Either through an appropriation for that, somebody to come in and do the assessment and the restoration. Pay me now or pay me later. It's your guys' choice.
But what we will be able to say with that is, look at this great rehabilitation of First Cemetery. Look what's been done. Let's invest in the others.
Well, I suggest to answer that question, you may not have seen the cemeteries in West Bridgewater that were very, very much in restoration need. And now they are incredibly nice. There's two of them, at least.
Are you using the same assessment?
I tried. I asked them for this money and I asked them for who they did their work. I asked them for their plan. Don't have one. The person that did all the work left. And so I don't have the details.
One final question on that. Why don't we have a current bid before we make this transfer? So why don't we have a dollar amount that says this will cost X? And then we come
Because
back.
that's not how CPA works. We appropriate money for a plan or a project. And then we do the bidding. There was no, for this building that got restored, CPA was asked for X amount of money with no plan. We paid for the clerk of the works. We paid for $5 million in this building. And we're still paying, by the way, for 10 more years. So to me, penny wise, pound foolish.
Well,
But I'm old.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, so-
Just to address what Johnny had said, that we have the assessment, then say, when we pay for the assessment, now we have to do the work. It's not true. If you look at the letter that I submitted to Justin to have this put on the council, for a council vote, it said right in that letter that depending how much I can't remember my exact wording, but basically, depending the results of the assessment, we may be going back to the council to approve more money. Our thought was, if it comes in, yes, we would look to do the cemetery, but if the price comes in an exorbitant amount to restore each cemetery, at that point, we will prioritize cemeteries, which ones. I believe the first cemetery is the biggest one we'd be looking at.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so that would take, to do an assessment, as Carlton said, some of the cemeteries have 6 stones in them. So that's not going to add a heck of a lot of cost to the assessment. So even if we did prioritize and say, okay, we're just going to do the first cemetery now, that's the trouble, will be the most of the assessment costs. But as I said, it's just because we're doing the assessment doesn't mean we're going to do 10 cemeteries.
The average amount, it's like 20,000.
Yeah, that's what we put in the application.
That's what comes up, 20,000 per cemetery.
Yeah, there's 10 cemeteries, 200,000.
There's actually 14 on the list. 4 of them are private. Yep.
Oh, okay.
And then if it doesn't cost that much, the money goes back into your account.
If we don't use it, it goes back into the
Yeah.
admin account, but at the end of the year, it goes into the general, unused fund.
Well, it would go into,
If we don't use the money, it goes back to the account that it came
right,
from.
okay, not.
But at the end of the year, if there's money in that account, it goes over to the unused and designated.
Right.
So we don't lose the money, it just gets moved around in the books.
There's a letter from Fred Clark, being a little coy here. It's great that they're in support of doing this, and they say that he's supporting the goal of preserving them. Does Bridgewater State want to contribute to preserving the cemeteries? It's great that there's a letter of recommendation, but I mean,
That was my comment.
is there a gift?
Well, that's part of the process.
Well, maybe you want to see if they want to give us a gift before we appropriate $200,000.
But
Oh,
you
maybe
all,
we'll just save that one for last.
it's entirely up to you, folks.
Well, I say let's give it a try, go with it. You know, let them get get the bid out there and we can figure out if it's that much money, we can always say, you know, if you don't think it's gonna be worth it, you can say no.
If you have a company that has to come from out of state and they come up for one cemetery, when they could have come up and done 10 and it's in twice the time instead of, and have to do transportation, hotel, whatever, multiple times, you're gonna spend more money.
Yeah,
May I make a comment or? no?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm in agreement with you gentlemen that we should do probably just one cemetery first, the first cemetery. At 20,000 or whatever it is, because we are in very tight circumstances. And I know it's segregated money with CPC, but we've got a lot of things we've got to do in this town.
I just, from your ever question, a lot of things you're saying in the town that have to be done. Can CPC money be used for it? As in,
Yes,
Okay,
eventually.
I don't know. If somebody wants to make a motion or what we want to do.
Well, I don't want to jump in front of you. My motion may be different than yours, but you were starting to say something, so I'll let you go.
no, a motion to approve and send it to the council, let them all vote on it, at least to get the, you know, what I mean, it's not like we're saying the money's definitely going, Carlton's gonna look at assessment, see how much it's gonna cost. But, you know what I mean? And I mean, it's used for fixing up the land and preserving history, there's a lot of history in there. And it will take care of all our veterans too at the same time. So it's like, to me, I look at it like a three-piece thing. I mean, if we're gonna build a wreck with 200,000, I'd go for that, but, you know, there's only so much we can do.
The
Anyone
recreation.
second the
I
motion?
know, I like them.
I won't second, so I don't know if you will.
I'm not interested in seconding. I would motion to not approve on this one.
First motion failed for lack of a second.
Yes.
Yeah.
I won't second and not approve either, so. 'Cause I do believe that we should make a recommendation to start with the one cemetery and then demonstrate what that shows, but, so I would
Would you
make a
recommend
motion-
with amendments or?
Yeah,
can I just ask a procedure question?
yes.
Is it possible that the council not vote tomorrow, we meet headings tomorrow, not vote, just put it aside and we can try to find out how much per cemetery? Like, as we said, the first cemetery, I like Laurie's thought, 10 cemeteries, 200,000. But one cemetery has a couple hundred graves in it, not one has
Oh,
six,
yeah.
so it's not gonna,
It's an average, but yeah.
yeah,
you
it's
don't
good
know.
average.
You don't know how much.
Does the council need to vote on it tomorrow? Or can it just be, I believe table isn't the right word.
We can hold it here, right?
Yeah,
We
you
could
wouldn't
keep
take
it in committee.
We can keep it in the committee.
You can also recommend to reduce it to 150,000 or 120,000. And then we'll deal with it and go out and get the bid for whatever, you know, we'll have 10 cemeteries, get a bid for them. And if, you know, but don't delay the process, please.
But my concern with that is then we're just gonna pick a random number tomorrow night
Or tonight to recommend.
or tonight with not enough information to know what we want to reduce to. We could pick $20,000 and hopefully that's enough.
If I might add something, if I could. When the CPC first started, they used funds to do a 4-building assessment. Memorial Building, this building, the townhouse, and one other, and McElwain School. They didn't have a cost. They had a budget. And then they sent that out and they got a very nice report on that.
So maybe we
But
could
nobody
recommend,
challenged the fact that you needed to have the information in order to make a legitimate decision about what the cost would be to repair, restore.
we could make a recommendation, send it to town council with amendments there.
That's right.
And
Right.
that way,
Yeah.
at least be at the town council.
I'm okay with that.
Um,
But then I would start at 20 grand because that's the average per cemetery.
Yeah.
And see what that comes out.
I'd be agreeable to that.
Yeah, but just remember, the average includes a cemetery with 6 and one with up to 1,000. So that 20 doesn't work that way.
So I make the motion to recommend with 20 grand
I'll second.
recommendation.
Yeah.
For the council, but
Yeah, with an amendment to reduce the amount to $20,000.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0. So it's recommended with the amendment of 20 grand.
Yep.
And then Gina, if you want to talk to Johnny about whether that goes on tomorrow or later, they'll decide, I guess. Right? Or-
Well, if they want it to be in front of the council tomorrow, we'll put it on with the recommended amendment. If not, we could motion to send it back to committee.
Right.
As well.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it after, just in the interest of time.
So I'd like to, I thank you guys for your attention, and the woman, ladies, people, you folks. My thought is, I understand what you're saying, but 20, to me, 20,000. We don't know what the cost is. As we've said a few times, it's 6 stones in the cemetery versus 100 plus. It's going to be a big difference. I don't know, 20,000. Oh, gosh, the first cemetery.
It's up to the council, as we've asked for project money.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna move on to
Oh,
order
You have
OFY.
to vote it, oh, sorry, you have
You
to
did
vote
vote
that,
it.
no, you voted an amendment, you have to vote it to refer it back to the council.
Oh, I guess we did it all at once. Okay, we voted to recommend it with the amendment. So we voted on the amendment. We'll
Different
vote.
votes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll vote to recommend it back. So I'll take a motion.
A second. Motion to recommend with the amendments.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Debbie. So we're gonna move on and
Thank
take
you.
order FY 26-045, adoption of 5-year capital improvement plan. If that's okay with the group first.
Yep.
Justin, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, so it's 045 and I looked at it as 045 and 042, which obviously is the general fund capital plan transfer for this year. The 5-year capital improvement plan is a 5-year capital improvement plan. I emphasized this when we had the financial, the FinCom, is that we do that so people can see some of the larger projects that are coming down the pipeline. That doesn't mean that's exactly what's going to be year to year. We look at capital as a year to year basis. So I'm probably going to just more focus on the outlay for this year. If that's okay. And then just we can open up to questions. Does that sound good, councilors? All right. So I will go to quick. Lori sent out sort of a large scale version of what we're planning to fund for this capital year. I don't know if you guys had questions already. Do you want me to run through them? Or
No,
how
I
do you
don't.
want to approach it?
I don't think you need to run through them. I know
Yeah.
Lori sent them ahead of time,
Yeah.
so I don't, but I'd rather jump into some questions.
Yeah, and we put a summary there of some of the projects, so I'd rather toss it to you guys. I do have our IT director here. I know there was some specific questions for IT, so if you have them, maybe you want to address that first, because I might have them transition to FinCom after this.
The IT was because we don't not use the clouds charging us, so now we're gonna be storing the.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. We don't use the cloud service, so I'll let Brad
Yeah,
talk.
no, this is for its on-premise environment. We do have some cloud services, but this is to replace I call our data center, which is downstairs. It was initially purchased back in 2019. It is coming to be 6 years old, which is the lifespan of these data centers because they run 24/7, 365. Maintain all of our stuff, all of our technology in town, including public safety. So this is basically a replacement. This is, it's been something that's been, projected out in our capital plan. Granted, over the past few years, I mean, the number in the last 5 years has grown exponentially just because of, right now we're dealing with tariffs and other things, but also, hardware costs, software costs, things like that. And I mean, it pains me to put in a number this large because it's the largest number I've had to put in, but it's what the cost of software and hardware is right now. This current system is an upgraded system to what we have. It will replace it completely. And I mean, the biggest thing, it involves hardware and when we replaced this system in 2019, we did not replace any of our software licenses. We used our existing software licenses we had, which right now our data center is running, for example, Server 2016, which expires in the beginning of 2027. So in order to maintain our updates and all of our security that we have, we need to go to the newest version right now is Server 2025, which, of this $230,000 number, built into that number includes, there's implementation costs as well as software costs is almost close to $50,000. The rest of it is the hardware, which, with this, I am changing the type of hardware we're going to. Right now, we have a server in a storage type environment where this new system is called hyperconverged, where it's all together in one unit. One of the biggest reasons why is right now we're using VMware, which is one of the virtualization softwares out there, but recently it's been purchased in the last few years, was purchased by Broadcom, who, we had perpetual licensing and now all their models, everything's going to subscription based. And, something that used to cost us $5,000 now is $25,000 a year. So we're trying to get away from that. And with this new hyperconverged system, we're using Nutanix, which it's still, it's perpetual, but it's perpetual license for 5 years. So that this cost is built into, the cost of the system. It all comes together as one. And that's what we're kind of looking at here. But it's the biggest thing, the reason for the increases right now, especially with the increase in the use of AI right now, a lot of these costs, especially for memory and storage, are going up. And that's where, right now, hardware wise, in 5 years is it's about a $40,000 increase just in hardware costs alone. So, it's built for this year for the capital plan. If we try to hold it off, there's some maintenance costs that I'll have to incur, probably about $25,000 to keep it living for another year. But exponentially, that 230,000, maybe 250, maybe 260 if we try to hold this off. So that's why we're trying to get this, past this year.
Well, one of the things that I obviously want Brad to speak about it was the decision was made last year to hold off on the server upgrade, and the increase in the price jumped over 10% just for that year. I think part of the reason why we took a look at this and made a decision that we want to go with it were a couple. One, as Brad mentioned, a lot of these companies are going to the subscription base, and that's where we see the largest increase. They give you an annual cost. One, we're transitioning to something that he mentions perpetual, so we pay it one time. We don't pay it for that 5 to 6 year period. But one of the things that we keep in mind is that AI and the new tariffs and all these things here. We're cognizant of that. We saw a little bit more than 10% jump from last year, so that's why we're putting it on for this year. I think Brad explained it well enough.
Thank you.
Sure.
How
There-
much is the permanent license to use it for the life of it? I'm just curious, out of the 230,000.
The software licensing is about $36,000 to $40,000.
There's $140,000 allocated for next year. Can you speak to what those costs are going to be?
Here, I'll give it to you, Brad. In the capital, it's listing up the laptop replacement and stuff like that. If you want to come over.
Yeah.
It has the computer upgrade, the firewall upgrades, the network switch upgrade. Yeah. 5 years cycle. That's what you're referring to, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's 280 this year and then 140 next year. So I just wanted
Yeah.
to see if that was all part
Yeah,
of
so
that
the
plan.
230 is the server. The town computer upgrade is just, we're in the last cycle, last phase of our cycle that we've been doing over the last few years to replace all the town laptops, endpoint devices, basically. The last cycle is for the library and the public safety departments. For next year, the firewall, again, a lot of these were purchased in 2018, 2019, so they're coming up on renewal. So a firewall upgrade, that's just updating our firewall that we have. It keeps us protected and, manages and monitors everything coming inbound and outbound from the town. Switch network switch upgrade is basically, I mean, every building has a switch. That's what all the computers plug into. That's how it connects to the network. That's just kind of like I would say it's the veins of the system that all connect back to the mainframe. And then we have, the last, town computer upgrade for 30,000. That's just to clean up anything that we may have missed in this 3-year cycle that we have, just in case, I know that I think that's, laptops and police cars and in the fire ambulances and stuff like that. So it's just cleaning up the last of the stuff, because we just upgraded, I think in 2021, we upgraded, police car laptops and the fire laptops and the ambulances. So that's just kind of run out the cycle.
So are folks on a set number of years with laptops?
We are, yeah.
So every 3 years or
3 to 5 years.
so it's not a set number, it's somewhere.
Well, our new laptops are on a 5-year cycle.
Okay.
Our old laptops are on a 3-year cycle. So it's depending on when they were purchased, because we purchased them in 2018, 2019. So it kind of overlaps 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
But our new laptops that we are purchasing are on a 5-year cycle. So they will, we'll start probably replacing, the first round in, I think it's 2029, I think is gonna be when we're gonna bring it back to start the refresh cycle again.
Yeah. And how is that split up? Do you know over time? I mean, there's X number of employees, and is it
Yeah,
equally every year 1/5 of the employees get new laptops?
Yeah, we basically do about, I think we did like roughly about 30 to 35 laptops. It depends on the cost but it's a fixed number. We try to get as many as we can within that number. And, we did like the academy building, then we did, the different outlying buildings. And we kind of have depending on how many people are in the department, we make it work depending on how much money we have.
Okay, so it's like department-ish.
Yes.
That's kind of how you look at it.
I think one thing, just, go back to what I said before, is those out years, they give you a playbook of what it looks like, but I will say with a computer refresh, that gives you a little bit more flexibility there. Because sometimes, obviously, if there's not a lot of capital funds, sometimes you push out a year of a computer refresh, like we can handle that, right? So that's a year-to-year basis that we'll evaluate that, and that's kind of what we've done in the past before, and that's my experience.
Does
Refresh.
every employee get a laptop? What's the cutoff there? What's it look like? Do you know how many are out there roughly?
We have close to 200 devices around town. And, depending on, probably 230 if you add in like the mobile units, police cars, fire, all that stuff. But, around town, we probably have about 200 units. And, it is on a refresh cycle, and, we try our best to try to, swap them out, or, if someone's having an issue with a laptop, we do, do our best to swap those out as well. So,
Do you do in-house maintenance on those? I mean,
yes, everything's done in-house. Yep.
just like any desktops?
Some people do have desktops.
Is it if one or the other?
Yes, it's one or the other. Some people with this last refresh went back to desktops because they didn't use the laptop. But the majority of people, we do have laptops, and, we swapped to laptops, during COVID because of, to be able to be remote. And the majority of people are staying with laptops. We do have some going to desktops, but I mean, in today's world, there's not much of a price difference between a desktop and a laptop. It's maybe $100. So they're roughly still the same price.
Question, Barry?
Enough of that, thank you. Very done.
Good enough technology piece.
Oh, one last question.
Sorry.
Have we done a long-term assessment of the potential alternatives to upgrading our servers here and moving to more cloud-based solutions? Is that something that we've looked at?
I've started to look into it. Right now, it's, just doing base estimates, it's still quite expensive.
Mhm.
I was just looking today, like, for example, users, I mean, it's probably $30,000 a year just if we were to move completely to cloud-based, just to manage our users. Right now, we're in a hybrid solution where, because we use Office 365 and some other cloud products, we have basically we have an on-prem server that syncs with Microsoft, And if we go completely cloud and add some services, I mean, you're looking at per user costs at that point. Right now, we're kind of where we have a hybrid system, it doesn't cost us anything. So it's, if we go to a full cloud-based system and we're looking at like $6 per user, which I mean, right now looking at in our AD in the cloud, we have 400 users. That's going to be, somewhere in the realm of $32,000 a year. And that's just for user stuff, not including anything else. Right now, cloud stuff is anywhere between, $50 to $100, depending on, we have 45 virtual servers running on this system. So right now, per month, it's anywhere between $50 to $100 a month, depending on how many resources and storage it needs. I mean, right now, this, on-premise model is the most cost-effective that I've seen. I mean, unless prices come way down, I mean, it's better to stay with hyperconverged is like the next best thing right now compared to cloud stuff where you're paying on a per month basis and that we're going to need that money. Right now, this is, roughly an average cost of about $46,000 a year over 5 years.
Yep.
We would have to have that or more if we move to a full cloud on infrastructure, because we're paying it on a monthly basis at that point. So right now, this is I still think is the most cost-effective solution. I mean, in 5 years, it may be different. But I do also know right now, for example, like Samsung, because we have a chip shortage right now because of AI is just flooding the market. With virtual servers or with cloud-based stuff, they've increased prices 50%. Some stuff anywhere between 30 to 50%, they've increased prices on memory and storage and all that. So this number keeps going up. I mean, those cloud costs are just going to increase on a monthly basis, which I don't think is sustainable for us right now.
Right. Thank you for that.
This way we have more control. Yeah, because one of my friends told me that the cloud's now going to start charging after a certain amount, how many pictures you save on your phone and stuff. So they're getting everywhere.
Yeah.
So at least you
Well,
can control the
yeah,
price.
cloud space, for your cell phones,
Yeah, but
you know.
before it was like, oh, just put everything there, and now they're gonna start.
well, that was, yeah, I mean, you pay for like your cell phone, you can get, Google Cloud or iCloud, it's, a couple dollars, but with everything going with AI right now, those prices are gonna start going up,
Yeah,
exponentially soon. You may be paying $5 a month
that's
rather
what
than
she said.
$2.
Yeah,
So right now, this, I believe, is the most cost-effective solution we can do, at least for the next 5 years.
yeah, and you have
And then
control over the price.
Yeah, because we are locked in right now, as long as we move forward, we're locked in at this price right now. As long as we move forward in the next month or so, we should be good to go.
Okay.
No problem.
Good. Technology.
Good on the IT.
Okay, good.
Cool.
Right. So we'll hop on the other one? Yeah, see if they have anything. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you guys so much.
Do
Thank you.
the vehicle listed as technology on here.
I saw that, yeah, it's driven. Yeah, it's not.
What kind of technology is that?
It's the V drive, I think that was just a, added in the list that's put on there.
Can you follow up on that one? I saw it was is it the health inspector? Vehicle?
It's a general government vehicle,
So
we'll figure out, we're applying for, so a couple of these items, for example, the windows, the windows for the library. And this vehicle, we applied for community, green community grant. And so we got a grant of like $7,500, but we wanted to apply for more. So, we didn't have funding for the vehicle before, so we were denied that funding, applied for the vehicle, to replace it. As well as the windows at the library. So we applied for green community grant.
So it's another electrical.
Yeah, it'd be probably electrical or a hybrid. These vehicles have to replace whatever vehicle they're replacing outside of public safety. They have to have the same sort of emission standards, et cetera.
So we have charging stations here
Correct.
that is free. How about the school down the street, the new elementary school? Are those charging stations free too?
I'm not aware of the ones at the school. I don't think they are.
Okay, and the library that you have on here, the station, charging station, are they gonna be free?
The library charging station?
Yeah, are you doing the library charging station or no, or are you gonna do it at the senior center?
We don't have, I think that if that's in the capital plan, you might be right. I don't think that is, but let's say it is. It isn't. There we go. Phase 3, the library. That's on one of the out years. I don't know if that's gonna move forward.
Yeah, I have a little concern.
Let me say something regarding that. So the town got a grant for the charging apparatus here, as well as at the senior center. The apparatus that's at the town hall is not sort of the up-to-date town charging apparatus. The town has really no control over it. The new apparatus that was put in the senior center, for example, there's a cloud software that you can control pricing, you can put a price there. This apparatus you can't. So what we did is just tying in for the overall capital. We applied for a grant to replace that infrastructure at the town hall, because I don't know if that's something we're gonna do in perpetuity, allow for free charging. I don't think we're in that situation to do that service any longer. So we applied for a grant to replace that infrastructure, and we'll see how that goes. The out year, that was something that was put on there before. Once again, we'll evaluate on the next year basis, but that was still part of what was previously there.
So not only are the residents paying for the charging, but my concern is like, because it was free in the town hall, we would have a gentleman pulled in charge and sleep in his back seat. So I hate to see them doing that at the school or the senior center, because I think it's kind of unsafe, because we don't know who's there.
Yep, our police, in terms of our apparatus, I do know our police department does check,
Yeah,
make sure that's not occurring. I had a conversation with, Lieutenant Scott Heil about that actually, because there was an incident in the past regarding that, so.
yeah.
In terms of that, I can't speak to the school apparatus, I think that's their own decision, I don't know anything about that.
So what happens to the old vehicle? This is not worth the repairs. Do we didn't pay any money for that or?
It really depends. It depends department to department. Some vehicles, if it's a straight out replacement and it's, it's met its end of life and it can't go to auction or there's no value, then you just, replace it. But a lot of vehicles, we do try to go out to auction and get some recuperation of funds, and then we put it to the purchase of the vehicle.
Okay, so it goes directly back to that purchase.
DPW, for example, often does that.
Yeah, I
Receives
see
from
that.
DPW.
Okay.
Can I ask the John Deere, where it says the load or the lease, is that leasing that we're gonna buy it, or we just,
Yes, that's what
Yeah.
the town typically is done.
so I know the John Deeres are changing, so we might look at different loaders, because I see the projected that they're gonna make their, tractors and stuff like our cars,
Mhm.
so DPW will not be able to
Yeah.
fix them anymore because of the technology they're putting in there, so they might have to do a different brand.
Once again, we'll talk about that. That's one of the out years. That's not on for this year.
It's just a year away.
It's just a year away. It's not
That's
on
still
for
a
this
year
year.
away.
I think the only DPW vehicle that we have for this year is, I have to give credit to our highway superintendent, looking for opportunities to find like used vehicles. And then we found like a used sander, that, we only have to put $10,000 towards, and those typically are like, they're pretty expensive. They could be 80 plus, for 6 figures sometimes. We found a community where we could get a used sander. They do a lot of work retrofitting items. And so, yeah, that's the only DPW vehicle we have for this year.
So I just have one more question. What is Massachusetts School Building Authority?
MSBA.
Yeah, what is that?
That's a fund that typically, if let's say you have, I'll say a new school, for example. Community is gonna build a new school. They can apply to the MSBA to get support from the state to augment costs associated with that new school. There's certain percentages, there's certain requirements, et cetera. So if you're looking at probably one of the out years is probably saying MSBA funding for something coming out.
For 2028, 8 million?
It's one of the out year
Okay,
projects.
we don't have to worry about it this year.
Definitely not worried about it this year. It's not
Okay.
appropriation for this year.
All right, thank you.
Question regarding the library funding. It's about $150,000
Yes.
worth of upgrades to the
Yeah.
library here.
I'm proud of that.
I think it's great. I think it's desperate. And
Yeah.
have we worked with our fellow friends in the room on funding for that opportunity?
For, excuse me, the CPC?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think as I mentioned
that seems
before,
like a great opportunity for.
I'll let them speak to it too, but I think I've had a conversation with Carlton, and I think moving forward, with CPC, there's opportunities for us to collaborate a little bit better. They have their goals. They have a 5-year plan. Actually, I picked up that 5-year plan. It's pretty in-depth. It's good work, right? I was taking a look at it. There's opportunities for us to work together. And I think, we obviously have those conversations. We know what our capital improvement plan is. Let's meet and collaborate with them and see opportunities. I think for this year, I was very clear, like there's some rec here in their library that maybe there was collaboration, but based on the time that we wanted to move forward with it, moving significantly quicker. This was usually in February. We had the funding to be able to do this work. We wanted to get it done. We've talked about it a lot and I want to get it done. So that's why we wanted to move forward in this fashion.
Is it designated as a historical building?
Historical district,
I know the district is, but.
I think everything in the
Make
district would
everything?
qualify.
Yeah.
Got the CPC.
Library's over 50 years old.
It's over 50.
It's historic.
It is.
And there's no way to get that done this year
What?
using CPA funds.
We talked about it a lot. The archway, the structure, the columns. Well, that's one of the things we heard right away too, when I was coming on board, like, we want to fix this. And we think we can fix this. I think believe me, there's a lot of projects that the town is going to be looking forward to the next few years where there's opportunity to collaborate. Yeah, that's my answer.
It's in that spirit, there's also over $100,000 in recreation. Are all these top priority items that need to be done now with
Yes.
our regular capital funds as opposed to waiting to collaborate in a few months or later on down the road?
Yeah. My opinion, yes. A lot of this particularly, we looked at as public safety too, and ADA.
Yep.
We recently had an ADA assessment. We did a little bit of work to have ADA assessment. We outlined a lot of these things that needed to be done. We're sort of time sensitive. We looked at the recreation, like the fencing, so the kids utilize that. And, they're gonna be going out in season, they're gonna be playing. And when we look at public safety, that's what we prioritize. I prioritize myself, and when I talk with Lori about this, ADA projects. I think we're a community. We've kind of not put the work into ADA, making things ADA accessible. So that was one of my personal things that let's progress on this. We need to do that. We need to make things that are accessible for people.
That was also a topic for the CPC too.
Yeah, that's if it was a top priority,
So
like
are they doing
if we could,
playgrounds?
Yeah,
they can.
be careful the language you use. We don't pay for maintenance.
Correct.
Under CPA Master General Law
For doing maintenance.
Master General Law 44B, fund support outdoor recreational uses, including rehabilitation of existing outdoor recreational sites.
There's opportunities
Rehabilitation
for
is a key word.
rehabilitation.
Yeah, that's not.
Maintenance is not.
It's, John, it's
A 2012 amendment explicitly allows rehabilitation to include
Right.
replacing or installing playground equipment to enhance
He's just
functionality.
saying that you
I
can't
didn't
use
say that.
maintenance.
Yeah.
Instead of not using the word maintenance, but rehabilitation.
But this isn't maintenance.
I-
You're talking
no,
about
no.
the library.
Let me say, for example, rehabilitation, the playground equipment. Sometimes you could look at that as rehabilitation.
I would say it's
That's not
rehabilitation.
maintenance.
Yeah.
You could make an argument, the fencing,
That's also rehabilitation.
it could be, or it could be looked at as maintenance.
Yeah.
It really depends on the language. So I actually agree with Carl that you have to be careful about it. Believe me, I've had a lot of experience doing it. Like I said, the equipment, for example, I can look at that as rehabilitation. And that was probably something that I would argue. I think they could even say that too. So there's opportunity there.
Where's the basketball courts and all that? Did you guys do that?
basketball courts.
The Legion Field
In
one?
Legion Field?
Third.
No, that was private. That was town money.
No.
Right.
And
We got
CPO so specifically
we've done
mentions ADA
fencing,
accessibility.
dugouts,
So
lighting.
Yep.
there's a lot of opportunities.
So other
Yeah, we
questions?
did
You-
fencing,
We
dugout,
literally,
and stuff.
the other thing I would say is that we have millions of dollars of ADA projects that we can do on
Yeah.
ADA assessment. There's a significant amount that we can do. Prioritize the ones that we thought was really important to move forward on. Library, playground equipment. Like I said, that was the first comment that I said before. I think there's a lot of opportunity where we can collaborate with them, where maybe we haven't done it as well as before. And I think that's what my intent is doing moving forward. But on the time that I was doing this capital and the projects that I wanted to see move forward first this year, that's why we went forward and do it.
So it's just an interest of time.
Yeah.
That's why you allocated the way you've allocated it.
Interest in time, priority. Priority. Like I said, we recently got ADA assessment work done. We spent a decent amount of that. We have a lot of work to do regarding that. We're not going to be able to fund all that work with CPC funds, but there's some we probably can prioritize with them. And some of the bigger ones, probably having conversations.
And an example of maintenance versus rehab. I'm guessing this is Parks and Recreation. It doesn't say where. Wood chips, remove handicap ramp landscaping. Wood chips, if the wood chips are scattered all over, that's maintenance then.
Yeah.
versus, as Justin mentioned, playground equipment. Rehabbing it, buying new playground equipment. Yes, it falls under the CPA, chapter 44.
As long as it's CPA funded.
Right.
Originally.
So it's that fine line,
Yeah.
what's maintenance and what's rehabilitation.
That's why you guys have to work together.
Yeah, so that answers my question. If these are top priority items that need to be done now, then, this has my support. If, for example, just to talk about the playground equipment like Marathon Park, Cottage Street Playgrounds, if that can't wait, then let's go ahead and do it. If it could wait, then I would love to see a CPA application come forward.
I think one of the things I don't think we've done this before, but we gave you the backup from the departments regarding their request there. This was one of the topics that we had talked with Jim, seeing if we could wait on it.
Mhm.
This has been a request that's happened quite a bit, a few years. We pushed, and we said, well, this is the time. It's serious need of thing. We're looking at children, we're looking at public safety. It's a priority for us. That's what we moved it for.
Yeah, keep them outside. I think that's
That
good.
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That just stinks because it's over $200,000 we have to take out of our money. Didn't apply. It's the money that's sitting in an account.
Is it possible to apply
Let me-
retroactively?
Well, I wouldn't do that, but let me just,
No.
I wouldn't do that. Can't do that, but
Mm.
I think, and I get the point, and like I said, I think now obviously different group here, and like I said, collaboration. We've had this conversation before. We literally had this conversation before we had this meeting. That there's opportunities that we can do here, and obviously the CPC, it's a segmented fund, an assessment put on residents separately. But there's obviously CPC projects that are important to them. They have a 5-year plan. There's also town projects that are important too. So when there's an opportunity to collaborate, that's what we're going to do moving forward. That's been my experience. I value the CPC. I value that committee. And that will free up resources for us to put some of these other free cash projects forward in the future. Because obviously I don't think we're going to have the same free cash moving forward. Well, so I hear it. I understand it. Believe me, they weren't taken lightly. I felt like time, the priority. These are projects that have talked to our departments. They're really important public safety wise. And I think based on what I've heard from the community and sort of what our priorities for us, I wanted to move. And what I've heard from the council too, in some of these discussions, right? The library, I've heard so often about the columns and different things like that. And like I said, there's millions of work that we have with ADA. It's not all going to be funded by the CPC, and it's all not going to be funded by our free cash overnight.
I wanted to say from my personal experience, I handled a case of personal injury when someone got injured on a fence in a field. Okay, so this is lawsuits waiting to happen with the fencing and so forth. So I consider it priority.
But that's why I said, when we look at these things, it's public safety. Like when you look at capital, generally, you have your wishes and wants, and believe me, you look at the whole list of things, you have wishes and wants. We try to prioritize public safety. That fencing, it's not, that's a time thing. We need to get it done as soon as possible.
I guess my last question is what I asked in the email earlier, but 50% of the capital budget for the next 5 years is the debt exclusion. That's listed in here.
Yeah.
Over 50%. So we're putting all our eggs in that basket, that's the route we're gonna go.
Nope, we're not. I think it's important. That's why I said, a capital improvement plan puts projects as our department heads see them initially, right? Because if you look at the capital improvement plan from 2 years ago, did every project that was supposed to be funded in this year get put on it? No. Some have been pushed off, some have been completely removed.
Yeah.
Just ask the senior center.
Yep.
They'll tell you.
Yeah, so I've got to be honest with you, with the projects that we have, I don't think everything's going to be able to be doing debt exclusion. We've got general operating override needs. We've got a lot of different needs. So we're going to have to look at it strategically. I don't think it's all going to be debt exclusion. We're going to try for earmarks, we're going to try for grants. For example, the windows that were on for the library, initially when it was put on, it was said we were going to fund it all. We're gonna try to get the Green Community Grant for it. So we look at every year, we try to be strategic. We're gonna try as many earmarks, grants. We've obviously set up meetings with our federal group. Earmark opportunities if they are available to us. We obviously have talked with our local representatives. We look at, earmarks there too. So it's not all on debt exclusion. I don't think that's gonna be feasible. But we want to put it out there. At least people know that these are projects that are coming down the pipeline. Will they be in the exact years that they put on? I don't know about that. I don't know about it every year. So we look at capital as a year-to-year thing, but you put a 5-year capital program.
And just fill it with debt to make it work.
You can get some companies in town.
Makes sense. It makes sense on why you're focusing on just this year, because these are tangible improvements we can make for that reason.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Any other capital plan questions?
I mean,
Okay, take a motion.
So we'll make a motion to, I'll make a motion to approve order FY 26-042 transfer order general fund capital plan transfers.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0. Okay, we'll jump back up to the order FY 26-039 acceptance of donation.
This one is from the D Enterprises, the new McDonald's, and good work that they did there and vitalizing that. But it's $3,000 that they're providing essentially for our comfort dog. And so we appreciate that donation.
yeah, that was nice of them.
Yeah.
After all the money they spent on the young dogs.
Take a motion if there's a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on. Order OFY 26-040 transfer order water capital fund transfer.
So this order is to fund capital projects that recently the town got a sanitary report from the DEP. These two items were mentioned as items that need to be done as part of our capital process for our water infrastructure. I will say that we discussed this with the finance committee. Some of these, for example, one of them, High Street, we believe that there was a design flaw based on what the group that did this work of it. They thought that coating the tape in a certain dehumidification coating would make sure this wasn't an issue. It is an issue. There's corrosion that's going on. So for us, we don't want this issue to exacerbate. We want to correct this issue, but I won't get into too much detail, but we're going through a process to try to make sure we get this money funded back to us. But we don't want to wait for that because that effect does lead to more corrosion. So we want to make sure we do the work now to address it, and then we'll continue the efforts that we're doing to recoup funds there.
Do we have project managers that watch over this for
We
us?
do have OPMs, yeah. It was a design flaw. I mean, I never, you guys don't hear me often say I wasn't here. I don't know. I don't Monday morning quarterback. There was a design. People thought that design would work, and we find that it isn't working, so we're adjusting it. But we do typically have OPMs that are part of our projects.
How critical is that we do this work now? Obviously, we're in the middle of trying to recoup funds.
Yeah.
Due to design flaw oversight, because it has obviously a large amount of money, and it will be replenished. But can it wait?
Yeah.
What are we looking at?
Yeah, no, if I thought it could wait, I would just say, let's go through the process to try to recoup the funds first. The reason why we're making the corrosion is occurring, and it's only going to exacerbate the issue. We want to address that. I mean, we've got a lot of water infrastructure things we're trying to obviously handle, and you guys are aware of it. I don't want to put any more on our team's plate. I want to focus on this is something that's time sensitive. So yeah, we need to get it done.
I'll just personally express my disappointment that we have to expend those funds, but I hope that we can get those funds back.
Believe me, I agree.
Yeah.
We all,
Second, the
How
discussion.
much funds are we talking about?
620,000. Take a motion or,
No motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 0. Okay, order OFI 26041
so this is
sewer capital.
part of our sewer capital process. This is for RBC replacement and non-SRF funding. So the non-SRF funding is costs associated with our phase one that isn't covered under the SRF loan that we got. So we're putting that money away, we're squaring it away. The RBC replacement is something that we've been doing on an annual basis. I'm definitely not the technical expert that our sewer group is, but an RBC essentially is an apparatus that it gets biological equipment on the equipment, and it essentially handles the wastewater. Cleans it. So it's necessary. We have a great team that does a lot of work trying to replace or trying to, do the work in-house to keep these things rolling, but we want to do on an annual basis sort of replace these apparatus. So that's what this capital is. Once again, all part of our wastewater plan that we've had before and just moving forward with it.
You know, I want to make sure that thing does its job.
You definitely do want it to show.
Recommendation.
Motion.
Yeah, motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Zero. FY 26042, transfer order general fund capital plan transfers.
I did
I
that.
think
We did that one.
you guys just did that.
This is
With
the
capital,
this is the transfer one.
this is the transfer.
We did the adoption.
Oh, I made a
He
motion
made it.
for the transfer.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention to the other. Okay, so if Debbie's good with that, we're good.
We could have done them both.
You could have done them both, but assuming.
You're okay, I'll let you slide.
Thanks. All right, order OFY 26043, transfer order ambulance overtime.
We've talked about this a couple of times. I know you guys are very aware that, with the fire station move, which I think by my next update will let you know that we probably moved into the fire station. But our chief has come before the council to talk about concerns regarding, manpower, et cetera. And I think in collaboration with the council, the chief, and knowing the needs of the community, we put an order in here to make sure we increase our minimum manning from 10 to 11. This is that funding for that. I will say that typically, at least for the past 2 years, we have augmented the fire department with overtime. So I think we're just doing a little bit earlier. Right now, we're, within the budget, which is good. Our fire chief has helped manage that with our finance team. So we're just making sure we have the funding apparatus to increase the minimum staffing. So this is what that order does.
You didn't get the grant.
We haven't heard on the grant yet. In reference to the SAFER grant, I believe you're asking about, we haven't heard just yet about that. Obviously, we're hoping that we get that. I mean, there's costs associated with it, and we'll have to have a discussion about that.
Yeah.
But we haven't heard that we've received it yet. Even if we were to get the SAFER grant, though, and for people who are watching, the SAFER grant covers a percentage of the hiring of new firefighters. New firefighters wouldn't get on board for probably a year out anyway. They have to go through
Yeah.
substantial training, et cetera, anyway. So we would still be doing this, no matter if we even got the grant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even if you don't get the grant and we pay for it out of town funds, you'll be making savings by not doing overtime, right? Or will it still be a greater amount?
No, so I think your question, so this order is covering overtime. It's augmenting additional EMS expenses so we can do the overtime. The SAFER grant, the benefit of the SAFER grant is, and there's usually financial calculations. This was my job, right? When I was a finance guy, budget analyst, you can look at overtime expenses and then look at the cost of hiring new firefighters. And at some point, the cost of hiring new firefighters, the benefit of hiring new firefighters exceeds the amount you're spending on overtime, right? So if we were able to add firefighters, that would obviously lessen the impact on the overtime expenses. And so, we've obviously had an override process for that. The benefit of hiring more firefighters is there, but obviously that's a monetary cost and we have to evaluate that cost. I think I answered your question, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
you did, thank you.
Motion.
But the calls are definitely going up. I think this month they were posting on the Facebook. It's almost like 500, 460. So, I mean, they're busy.
Yeah.
So,
Chief has outlined their calls the past few years and.
yeah.
their
Yeah,
calls.
sometimes they'll post it by month. I usually keep track.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0. Okay, moving on, order OFY 26044, water system improvement loan authorization.
Yeah, so when we put this order together, and as I know the council knows, but we gotta keep reiterating this because I think is important for people to know. We've prioritized this issue pretty early since I've got on here. We saw that, there are opportunities, we were looking at opportunities to do interconnections. I mentioned this in my November update before all the things emerged further. So this order was put on there to allow us to do some of the work that we've, said we were looking to explore. Interconnections with other communities, also a trailer for iron and manganese. At that same time, when I put that order, I was advocating for additional grant opportunities and with support, with advocacy of the council, with our other, delegations, I communicated, there's a need, right? There's a cost associated with this. Talk with the DEP commissioner. The town is going to get potentially a $2 million grant, has been earmarked for us. We just have to put the application in, and we are pretty close to putting an application for that. So that will augment the necessity to, in terms of what we were putting here, $1.5 million, that $2 million will come from the grant, ideally first. But I still am advocating that we continue that 1.5 loan authorization, just so we have flexibility. Flexibility to tackle any other things that emerge. Because as we've said, and I know the council said, this is a priority issue, right? We have loan authorization that is available to do the work to tie 10A, 10B to the High Street treatment plant. That was authorized, I believe, in May, council did. We'll hopefully get that $2 million grant from the state. And then this is another supplementary appropriation that we could do. Not going to utilize that unless it's necessary. I obviously would communicate that with the council. That's kind of where we're at with it. But I know I just put this key thing because I know the questions. If we're getting a grant, why still persist with this? Well, there's a lot more costs associated with this work than just this, right? And so I'd rather have the flexibility to do some of that work, right? There's significant costs with this. The blue drop that I mentioned, the treatment trailer that we mentioned, just a 6-month cost alone for that $700,000. We're looking at lease to own opportunities. I think you mentioned the blue drop Middleborough connection. Well, obviously, we have a budget that we think is necessary to make sure we fill our tanks, be able to do flushing, et cetera. I want to have flexibility to do the work that we need and make sure we're being time sensitive about it. I don't want to be held back by anything. I don't think we'll have to touch this for the time being when we get that grant, but I'd rather have it move forward than not move forward.
May I make a comment?
Sure.
As I see it, we have immediate, short-term, and long-term water problems. And so you have been dealing with the immediate. Very good. The short-term, we seem to have the High Street, so forth, going to be worked on. But I agree with your necessity of keeping flexibility because we still need to address the long-term. So I think your in potential investment there is very good.
Good, thank you. I think just one thing to elaborate on that. We have said, and I want to be very clear about this. You guys know this because this has been part of my updates. We've said this is exactly what you said. You've got short term, you've got intermediate, you have long term. We're looking at all those things. So we're not trying to be reactive. We're trying to be strategic about these things. And that's what I've committed to do. That's what my team is committed to do. That's what we're working in collaboration with the council. That's exactly what we're doing. As I've said repeatedly, we have a plan. We're executing the plan.
So because we have a water emergency, I think residents are getting confused. Doesn't mean it's not drinkable.
Correct. There's not a do not drink order
Okay.
in the town of Bridgewater. The water emergency, we can talk about this tomorrow, obviously.
Yeah.
There's not a do not drink order. That's straight from the DP. That's not from me. That's straight from the DP. There's not a do not drink order in Bridgewater.
So water supply emergency.
Yes, and the town, this was the other misnomer out there, that DEP placed this on us. No, the town petitioned DEP with our water superintendent to do this because, once again, our plan was we're going to explore the interconnection. We're exploring the treatment trailer for this, which, once again, we don't do in Massachusetts. We use these trailers mostly for PFAS. So we kept it closely guarded because we had to do pilot testing. We have a lot of engineering work that we need to do. But as we made progress, DEP, for us to do the work that we were already working on, said, well, for us to get that support and expedite these things for you, we need an emergency declaration. And that's exactly what we did, being proactive about that.
So right now, we're not allowing tie-ins for new approved buildings, right? It's not for the
As
ones,
part
it's
of
not
this,
for the ones that have been approved.
correct.
It's the ones that,
As part of this water emergency declaration, what we've said is that we're not allowing any new tie-ins for non-approved projects. When we say that, for non-approved project, if it's gone through a planning board process or gone through, gotten approvals there or approvals before our DPW or building inspector, those are approved projects. There's litigation involved with saying no. There's millions of dollars that go into these projects. You can't just say no, you can't tie in, right? But for any projects that are coming to us now that haven't gone through that process, we're not allowing it. We want to get the work that we need to get done for our infrastructure, and that's what we're prioritizing. And when we do get that work done, then we can talk about that further.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Okay, we'll jump back to order O, FY 26-045, adoption of 5-year capital improvement plan, just to make it official.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve, and just to comment is, I think Justin will agree with this, is that, this is a working document and we're not agreeing to appropriate these amount of funds over the next 5 years, but it is a plan that we hope to follow. And again, I just motion to approve that plan. And I think that this is a great place to start, and obviously we'll continue to revise that every year.
because legally you have to do like a 5-year plan out, right? A town's supposed to do like a 5-year plan out just to get an idea of what's coming up.
That's one of the best practices. That's what's recommended by our Government Finance Officers Association. That's what good communities do.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 This is what I want to see.
We'll move on to E, public comment. Any comments from the public?
Thank you for listening.
Okay. Move on to F, adjournment of meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
All right.
we're adjourned. Thank you.